Okay, just review. Remember that gradient is another word for slope. And anytime you see slope of a tangent or gradient of a tangent, you have to think derivative. Because that's what the derivative is. So if we can find the derivative of this, and then specifically look at when x is equal to -4, then we'll be able to find the slope of the tangent at that point. The question doesn't ask us to find the whole equation at that point, but we could do that as well. So looking at this, well, first of all, I see a square root before I go to the derivative. I take the time to write things in a form that I can do the derivative of. And what you have to ask yourself is, can you start to see when it's a product rule, when it's a quotient rule, when there's functions times by each other? For example, in this one, it's a product rule because we have a function of x multiplied by another function afterwards. And within those two, you see in the second function, the 1 minus 2x to the half, when you do the derivative of that, you're going to have a chain rule within that one. So part of what you start to do is, before you go and do the derivative, you sort of analyze it and see what parts you have, just so that you feel comfortable of what you're going to do next. So now I'm going to keep the second one the same. Derivative of the first one is? What's the derivative of x? 1. Sometimes the easiest ones are the hardest. Plus, keep the first one the same. Derivative of the second one, well, work from the outside in, it's chain rule. Remember not to do too much at a time. Subtract 1 from the exponent. And then the derivative of the inside is just -2. Now the next point for working at this, you now have to plug in -4. You can do some simplification already if you'd like. Maybe you see that this 2 and this 2 would cancel out because you're multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2. Maybe for simplifying, you're going to find it easier if you change those exponents back to square roots. So it'll be 1 minus 2x. This whole expression is going to be negative when I multiply by that -2 in the end. I'm going to have an x. And this 1 minus 2x to the -1/2 would be the same as 1 minus 2x to the half on the bottom of a fraction, which is the same as square root of 1 minus 2x. So some of these simplifying things, when we do simplify them, they're nice because it's going to be easier to do mental math and evaluate this when it looks like the second part than what it looked like originally. So now if we plug in when x is equal to -4, you see you're going to get square root of 9 to start with. Because -2 times -4 is 8 plus 1 be 9 minus -4 over square root of 9 again. So we get 3 plus 4 over 3 which gives us a slope of 13 over 3. So when x is equal to -4, the slope at that point would be 13 over 3.